Hey there, everyone. My name is Adam, and today I have Eve on. Eve runs a dog daycare. She's got resources to open your own. So Eve does dog daycare. How you doing, Eve?
I am well. It's a little cold here in Wisconsin, but we're surviving.
Right. Yeah, I'm in central New York. It's cold here too.
Oh, yeah, it's a little cold there right now.
Yeah, it is. All right. So you do dog daycare. Why don't you just give an introduction to yourself and how you got into it?
Absolutely. So, as Adam said, I'm Eve. I operate Fun for Pets, dog daycare, boarding, and training. Notice I didn't say dog boarding in there because we board cats, ferrets, parrots, and potbelly pigs.
Oh, cool.
So, all the little critters as well, which was something I didn't think about when I thought about starting my dog daycare.
Right. People have more pets than just a dog.
Absolutely. Absolutely. According to the state ag report or the national ag report, 73% of Americans now own a pet.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I only own cats, but
That's okay. So if you take a cruise for a week, who watches your cats, right? Like you have to think of pet care in general, whether you have goldfish, horses out back, cats, dogs, etc. You have to consider who cares for them. If anything were to happen to you, you ended up in the hospital, you take a trip, all those things.
right.
So my journey into the dog daycare business is a little skewed. I was sitting on a board and fostering service dogs, and we were using a dog daycare business to allow our dogs 1 day a week of social time. And they provided me some really bad customer service. Dog was great, daycare was great. It was just poor customer service. And I thought, my gosh, I could do this better than them. I've been in the customer service industry for, 10, 15 years. And so I started thinking, what do I need? I need a building. You can start a dog daycare and boarding business out of your home, but you need to know the zoning rules. That's number one.
Okay.
Are your neighbors going to be okay if there's 10 dogs in the backyard barking?
Right.
Something really big to consider. So I decided I needed to do some market research, and not market research on like who was going to be my client, but market research on what's out there, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I toured 24 doggy daycares in 3 states.
Oh, wow.
I Googled and MapQuested, and then I called. Hi, I'm going to be over in your area, like at least 3 hours away, because then I wasn't a competitor.
Right.
And I said, I'm going to be over in the areas there, I'm looking at opening up a daycare. Any chance I could get a tour of yours just so that way you can tell me what I shouldn't do? Oh, yeah, great. So I toured 24 different doggy daycares, and I literally learned what not to do.
Right. Okay. So
That is key. Like super important. What shouldn't you do in a dog daycare?
Okay. So what shouldn't you do?
Right? A lot of it was structural.
Okay.
A lot of the daycares told me don't do webcams to have people be able to log in and see their pets because if they don't see their pet on the camera, because you can't provide 24-hour, coverage of every single nook and cranny of your facility, they're going to call and go, oh my gosh, I don't see my dog. I swore I dropped it off this morning.
Right.
So you're going to spend so much time just troubleshooting and putting out fires. One daycare actually told me that they had a client stalk their staff. That was my key piece.
Okay. They're watching the people that work there.
They're watching the staff.
Right.
So I thought, yep, no, okay. No webcams. Second thing that I was told was you're not going to move a lot of retail.
Okay.
You don't need a huge retail area. You don't need to sell all the little trinkety things. Food, in case a boarding dog runs out of food, that would be a good thing to sell. Leashes and collars in case somebody forgets one. So those are really the key things to have in your retail area, something to hang on your walls for clients to buy when they come in. Grooming is not a necessity. And you need to decide if people are allowed to bring things from home.
Okay, like toys, blankets.
Right. So some facilities, you can't bring anything. And they want all of your food packaged in Ziploc baggies of every single portion that the dog is supposed to eat.
Right.
Other facilities, bring me your whole bag you just bought at the grocery store. I'll figure it out. So you need to kind of make those decisions ahead of time so you have a policy in place.
Right. So what did you go with?
I allow people to bring something that smells like home, preferably a blanket, a t-shirt, or a towel. If you bring me this ginormous bed and the dog is staying with me for one day, I'm going to tell you to take it home.
Right.
Because if they pee on it, I have to try and figure out how to wash it before you come and pick it up.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. No bowls. We provide the bowls because that's a sanitary thing.
Right.
If you don't wash your pet's bowls very frequently, they're nasty. And I don't want that nastiness in my facility.
Right.
Yep. No bowls, no giant beds. You can bring something that smells like home. You can bring bones and toys. Now, I will use discretion. So I don't allow rope toys to be in their suites when I'm not with them. Because if they were to shred it and ingest it, they could have a blockage and potentially pass away.
Right. Not good.
Yep. So I leave it blanket, but then I use discretion of what I put into their suites. So that's kind of the boarding aspect of it. And I didn't think boarding would be a big thing. I've always had outside dogs, hound dogs, hunting dogs. So when I opened my facility, I had like 5 crates and they were full. And then the next weekend, they were full. I was like, oh, I need to go buy more crates. And then somebody wanted to board a Great Dane. I said, I can't fit a Great Dane in a crate. I need a giant kennel. I didn't think boarding would be a huge thing, which during COVID it was not.
Mm-hmm.
But it is. I mean, people travel and need pet care. So I currently at my facility have 160 spaces for animals to stay with us.
Okay. Now, coming from someone who doesn't understand this, what does the boarding part mean? You didn't think that it was going to be a big deal, but I don't know what that means.
Sure. So if you are going away for the weekend and your pet can't go with you and you don't have somebody at home to take care of it, it comes and spends the night with me.
Oh, okay. Okay, I do know what that means. So you just thought it was going to be like a daycare kind of thing? Like
I thought daycare would be like everything that would keep me busy, but boarding is the plan B.
Okay. I got you. So there's the boarding, the overnight aspect, and then there's the daycare. So
correct. So daycare, they drop off on their way to work, they go to work, they pick up on their way home. They don't spend the night.
okay.
Rules to daycare. Do dogs play naked or should they wear a collar? That's really heated in our industry, and it's something you can change once you open your daycare. We do play with collars. However, there are certain dogs that are collar eaters. So that play group might play naked, meaning no collars. But when you're first getting started, you can kind of play with that a little bit. When you're first getting started, you're also a little nervous about the dogs because you're getting to know them yet.
Right.
So that kind of comes just with time. All of my new hires, I tell them it takes a good 3 months for them to feel comfortable in knowing the dogs that come to our facility. Because you got to remember the name and the breed.
Right. And
So you're a cat guy.
Yeah.
You're a cat guy. So if I said, give me 10 dog breeds, you'd be like,
No, just the popular ones I might be able to know.
Right, right.
So what does like doggy daycare look like? They get dropped off and then is it like constant someone's with them playing as a group or individual or like
correct. So think back to gym class.
Okay.
Yeah, think to gym class.
Yes.
Only instead of kids, they're dogs.
Right. And so how many employees do you need for this kind of doggy daycare?
So if you're doing a traditional doggy daycare, so you're open like 6 in the morning until 6:30 at night, you always want at least 2 people on site with the dogs. And that doesn't matter if you have 10 or 20. Like the ratio we usually go with is 1 staffer per 10 dogs when you first start. And I say when you first start because you need to get comfortable. Having your own personal dog at home or going to the dog park does not qualify you to sit in a room with 10 to 15 to 20 dogs. It's a different environment. Everybody has a different personality.
Right.
I take all breeds of dogs. So we have Rottweilers and Pitties and Shepherds and Chihuahuas and teddy bears. So we divide our dogs into play groups. Your best friends, Adam, are people that have the same interests as you and the same personality as you, right?
Right.
Dogs are no different. So I separate in my facility, and I have a very large facility. It's 15,000 square feet. So we have 6 playrooms for the dogs. We do teeny tinies, which are your Chihuahuas, your teddy bears, basically anybody under 15 pounds. And then we have our tinies. Those are corgis, maybe a Lhasa Apso in there, depending on play style, or just a young puppyish dog that's kind of obnoxious.
Mhm.
And then we have smalls. Smalls are your teenage dogs, the ones who don't quite have the social cues down just yet, but
Mhm.
they're too big to put with young dogs, with the
Okay.
smaller dogs, because they're a little rambunctious. That'd be like your 7-month-old lab puppy. You know, he's weighing a good 45, 50 pounds, but he still jumps and he doesn't quite understand what no means yet. So that's our smalls group. We prime those dogs. We work with them quite a bit on social behavior to get them ready to go in with the big dogs. Big dogs are just dogs that are spayed and neutered over 8 months and have good social skills.
Hmm. Okay.
And we have 3 different groups for that. What did you do, Adam? Who's coming for you?
I live next to an ambulance station. They only do the lights and sirens when it's a really, really big emergency. Otherwise, they wait till they get away. So something big happened.
No worries. You get to cut that out.
Yeah.
So then in our bigs group, we have bigs 1, bigs 2, and bigs 3. So low energy, medium energy, high energy.
Okay.
When I first started my daycare, I only ran 2 play groups. I ran a bigs group and I ran a smalls group.
Okay.
That
And then
was
at some point you transitioned to.
Correct. Yeah. So then when I hit about 40 dogs for daycare, then I divided up my bigs into 2 big groups, and then I divided my smalls into 2 small groups. So as you grow and you're planning what your facility looks like, just plan more dogs.
Right.
So I have portable, I call them portable walls, but they attach, but I can take them down. So I can have one huge playroom that's 120 feet by 38, or I have 3 separate play groups within that same space.
Gotcha. Now, if someone's paying for boarding, they're going to be gone for a week. Obviously, that dog's not just going to stay in his crate the entire time. You're going to bring him out to play with the other dogs. Is that a separate charge in an instance like this? You pay for the boarding and you pay for the daily school daycare rate?
Yeah. So when you're first starting, that's a decision you have to make. And I will tell you, it is best to charge them as 2 separate things.
Okay. Why is that?
More profitable.
Okay.
And not every dog that you board is going to want to play with other dogs.
Right.
And you get to make that decision if you take them or not.
So what would happen with that dog? It just isn't like in a solo room or?
Yep. So he would still stay in his suite, and then he would get out to potty every either 2 or 3 or 4 hours, whatever your schedule is set up. For us, dogs go out to potty every 2 hours.
Okay. Now, when you say
Yeah.
suite, what is that?
So for us, that is a 6 foot by 6 foot wire stand-up kennel.
Okay. Gotcha. It's not like that you have to build 20 little 6x6 rooms. This is a modular kind of thing.
Correct. Yep. And there's tons of manufacturers that have prefabricated suites. So you can spend as much as $4,000 for a 6x6 little suite that's plexiglass and has your company logo on it. Or you can spend $500 and pick up wire suites like I do at the Tractor Supply.
Right. Okay. So now you decided to open the business. You got your property, but there's a lot of other things. Like it may vary state to state. Is there licensing involved in some states, like yours in particular, or you can just do this?
Yeah, actually, right now nationwide there is no licensing to operate your dog daycare. However, each state has different rules. So Colorado will dictate that you have to have 1 staffer for every 15 dogs on site.
Okay.
I believe Vermont also has that rule, and Iowa just instituted a very similar rule. Theirs is based on square feet, the number of dogs, and then the number of staff.
Right. So yeah, everyone is watching. Like, check out your local. It can vary state to state, and maybe even town to town.
Correct. So when you first want to find out what your state rules are, you're going to call your state agriculture department.
Okay.
That is who oversees our industry. Then from there, once you find out what the state rules are, then you're going to call down to your county. If you have a county, you would call down to your county planning department. If there isn't anybody at the county planning department, then you're going to go to county health department. They would give you information, and then you drill down to your city planning department, and your city health department.
Okay, that's very helpful because a lot of times people just don't know where to search for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then the last place you want to talk to is your fire department.
Okay, because of the building, the size.
Because of the building and the size. Yep.
Fire exits.
Yeah. So just 2 hours away from me, Madison, Wisconsin, their fire department has a code that says they have to post every day on a little whiteboard on their doors how many animals are on site.
Okay.
So the fire department had written their own ordinance. I'm guessing something happened at some point. So that's something that they have to do, that their fire department mandates.
Right. And then yours is different. So it's different everywhere.
It is. You talked about sprinklers, and so I want to touch on that. One of the key pieces to our industry, so I have 100 dogs at my facility. Actually, right now, I think I have 147. They are considered property. So they are counted different than humans.
Okay.
So as an industry, when you're talking with your building people and inspectors, there's a lot of things that we don't have to put in, such as a sprinkler, such as certain types of safety exits, because these are property that we have. They're not looked at as humans.
Okay. Even though they're all our friends and stuff,
we love them to death.
It can end up saving you potentially tens of thousands of dollars on a sprinkler system and other things if you don't really need it.
Absolutely. I looked at a sprinkler system and it was $20,000, and I had to have state approved plans.
Right. Yep. So what sort of relationships do you need to have when you have dog daycare or any animal daycare? I'm assuming a veterinarian is one of them.
Veterinarians are great, and your animal control officer is another good one. And also whoever sits on the city or town board for your facility.
Okay.
You're going to get a complaint of a dog barking. It's just going to happen. It doesn't matter. I'm in an industrially zoned facility, so I can make noise from 6 a.m. until 10 p.m., and there's nothing anybody can do about it. However, you're still going to get that one neighbor who doesn't like you.
Right. So if you can only from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., what happens if dogs start freaking out at midnight?
Then the key is, do I have things in place to try and mitigate that so it doesn't happen? If the dog barks for 20 minutes straight, that is typically the rule nationwide, then you can be issued a ticket.
Okay. Yeah, so difficult.
It is. So you really want to think about the construction of your building. I am in a cement block building, and then we've also furred out the inside. So it's kind of a double insulation. And where my dogs stay overnight and in the daycare area, I think I have one window.
Okay.
So keeps the noise in the building. When you're taking the dogs out, you need to learn how to control the barking and the obnoxiousness, because that on a cold winter day where nobody's outside and there's no leaves on the trees, that barking echoes for blocks.
Right. It just, as you're talking, it hit me that this is a 24-hour business. It's not like there's employees not there at night. You got a bunch of dogs there, so you have people overnight too, huh?
Yeah, and we are open 365 days a year, because when do people travel most?
Weekends?
Holidays.
Yeah, holidays.
Yep.
Wow. So how many people do you have to have on at night?
So I offer what's called cage-free boarding, and that is where a staffer sleeps on a futon in the play area with up to 10 fuzzy friends. That is a premium service that I offer
Okay.
because I have to cover the cost of the staffer to be there.
Right.
Now, when we don't have dogs that want cage-free boarding, which I charge $56 a night, then I don't have somebody that stays overnight. But we are there. My hours of operation are 5:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. So we leave at
Okay.
10:30 and then we come back at 5:30 a.m. However, we do have an alarm system that monitors motion. So if a dog breaks out of their suite because they're having a panic attack, it will trigger my alarm. My alarm calls me. I can look up on my cameras. So I do have cameras. I just don't allow everybody else to view them.
Right.
You want cameras to protect yourself. If somebody tries to claim that a dog was injured at your facility, a staffer claims that they were injured at the facility, you want to have cameras.
Right.
So that is an expense that you need to invest in right away. Don't wait on that one and invest in good ones.
And to follow up on that, should you have some sort of system in place for if a dog does get hurt to document it immediately, just like if a employee gets hurt somewhere?
Absolutely. Yep. So just as, again, kids at school, right? They get hurt, they go to the nurse's office, there's an assessment, there's a call to the parents. Same protocol should be followed at your facility.
Right. To
I
protect you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You need to have a written documentation. And then again, the cameras really do solve a lot of those issues because you're able to look things up.
Right.
You do want to have a relationship with the vets. We were talking about that. And not just your personal vet, all the vets.
Okay.
Because if Fluffy gets injured or Fluffy's not feeling good and Fluffy goes into the vet, you know that game where like I tell you something and then you tell somebody something and then they tell somebody something and then by the time
Yeah.
it gets to the fifth person, it's completely hogwash.
Right.
That happens. I mean, somebody, you're in the vet, you've got Fluffy, they're flustered and they're not hearing exactly what the vet says. And then they call you and, oh, well, the vet said blah, blah, blah. And you're like, that doesn't sound right. So you want to make sure you have a good relationship with all the vets. A couple times a year, I take all the vets a huge cookie tray
Right.
and suck up.
Yeah. It's just good business. So if say a dog gets hurt and they're there for a week, they're being boarded. Do you have a vet come in? Do you take them to a vet? Do you take them to their specific vet?
These are good questions. Yeah. So you always want to try and go to their vet first because their vet has a relationship with the dog and with the owners. Plus, it has all their records. So that's another key piece. Every dog that comes in to your facility, you need a hard or a very good electronic way of holding on to veterinary records. Everybody
Okay.
needs to be up to date. You don't need anybody spreading a virus or parasites or anything that would be detrimental to the pack and to your business.
Right. So you're not gonna take in a pet that has some sort of disease.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. So you
Yep.
need that proof.
You need that proof. It needs to have the veterinarian's name at the top of the piece of paper. It can't
Okay.
be, oh yeah, I did, I just took him in last week.
Right.
Great.
All right. So on your end, the financial aspect of that, you have to then bring an animal to a vet who knows how far away they are.
Correct. That's why you always want at least 2 people on site.
Right. So
One person is monitoring the pets and the other person is handling we call them the oh shit moments.
right. That's in everything. More particularly when there's a whole bunch of different little creatures. But
Correct.
so you got to go do this. Obviously, they're going to pay the vet, but that was your time.
Well, no,
right?
back up. It depends on why the dog is going to the vet.
Okay. So
let's say Fluffy and Scrappy decided they didn't like each other and Scrappy bit Fluffy's ear. Now, all of your clients should sign a waiver that your lawyer does up for you.
Okay.
That says you are not liable. Because I don't know Scruffy very well or Fluffy very well. So,
right.
You are taking a risk anytime you are asking animals to be around each other, period.
Right.
However, I cover the vet costs if it is a dog-to-dog injury. because
Okay.
I always feel like, hey, it's on our watch.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
you've signed the paperwork that says you're covering it no matter what. I pony up.
Okay. That's just back to your customer service thing.
Back to the customer service thing. Because then if you're telling the story of how Fluffy got injured to your friend and the friend's like, well, I hope they at least covered the vet bill. And you go, yep, they did. It kind of negates the negativity.
Right. Okay. We might be scaring people listening with this. How often does this actually happen?
I take a dog to the vet maybe 4 or 5 times a year, and it's
Okay.
typically an ear, and the ears don't bleed. They are, or I'm sorry, the ears bleed profusely
Right.
because they're just giant pieces of tissue. And so you take him to the vet, and the vet has magical powders and glues and all that cool stuff to make it stop bleeding.
Right. So
Um,
anyone's watching, don't be scared that you're going to be taking an animal to the vet all the time.
no.
This was,
If you
but
are,
it's
you need to reevaluate what you're doing.
right. This is just to get you thinking of systems to have in place.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, if Fluffy is staying with me for the week and we're on day 3 and Fluffy has had explosive diarrhea and there is blood in it for more than 2 days, I'm calling the vet.
Right. And then that case, it's on the owner.
That's on the owner. There is nothing, I mean, nothing has happened to Fluffy to cause this. It might be that Fluffy has a GI inflammation. Fluffy just might be super stressed. Fluffy might have Giardia or coccidia or some sort of parasite that the parents didn't know, because most people don't follow their pets out to watch their poop.
Right.
Right? Like you don't stand there and watch your cat take a dump, right? Like
No.
you just pick it up a few days later.
Yeah. So in an instance like that where it's not dog on dog, are you charging for that service to bring them, or is that just kind of included in everything?
I don't charge to take the dog to the vet. Of course, we call the owner. My protocol is I always call the vet first and I say, hey, this dog is having some sort of a medical issue. And we have a conversation. Sometimes the vets will say, try this homeopathic remedy or try this before bringing the dog in. So you always want to call the vet, or maybe the dog was just into the vet a week ago for this issue
Right.
and the pet parents just failed to mention it. So
Mhm.
you always want to call the vet. Plus, this way, the vet says, yep, bring them in. I have a 4 o'clock appointment, 4 o'clock opening. That'll work out great. Then you call the pet parent because you have a solution. Hey, Fluffy's had a diarrhea for the last 2 days. We've been monitoring it. I just spoke to your vet. This is what they want me to try before bringing in. Just wanted to keep you in the loop.
Right.
Or you can say the vet feels that he needs to see Fluffy. He's got a 4 o'clock appointment. We'll transport Fluffy. The vet will call you to talk to you and also to take your payment.
Right. You just said payment, which sparked something. You're starting your business. How do you get paid?
You want your dog? Give me some money.
Okay. So you won't release a dog until payment has been in full.
Correct. Now, there
Okay.
are lots of programs that you can purchase to help you manage your daycare. Look for one that customers can access remotely. So
Okay.
you want to sign your cat up to board with me, Adam. You're going to go to my website. You're going to see boarding. Then you'll go to cat boarding. And then there's an enrollment form where I collect all of your information. You tell me all about your cat. You can upload photos of your pet. You can put in your credit card information.
Right. Now, is this a specific program to like your industry?
Yeah, there's about 9 different programs that are specific to our industry.
Okay.
So, when you're first starting out, it's kind of one of those costs that you just need to eat. And they run anywhere from $75 to $100 a month.
That's not bad. So if someone didn't do it, basically they're taking every single phone call. They've got some sort of system.
Google Docs, or, you're using your Google Calendar.
And you quickly lose track of everything. Whereas what you just said, there's an online thing. People can book online. You never have to even get called.
Correct.
And then I'm assuming there's you pull up Fluffy's name, and then you would have entered in all the records, and you would have everything that they filled out. So it's not like you're searching around for it. You just go to Fluffy, something like that.
Absolutely. It's very user friendly. When I first started in the business, there were no programs that were online that allowed the client to do that in.
Right.
They had to call us and we had to enter it in, or we created a document on our website that they would fill out. Then it would email into us. We'd have to print it out, manually enter it all in. So just too many opportunities for human error. Number
Right.
one, name, address, phone number, email, all that kind of stuff. And it was very time consuming.
Yeah. So what a lot of people think is I'm going to save money by doing this, but you're losing money on employees' time or your own time because you should be doing something that is furthering the business, not just always doing paperwork. So
Absolutely.
there's these programs for basically every industry. I actually do party rentals, and it's the same thing. There's programs for party rental companies, just like there's a program for animal boarding, and it's crazy, but they save so much time.
Absolutely. So that, when you think of the staff time or your time that it would take to enter in 10 different people's contact information, all of the information about the dog, that $85 a month is nothing.
Right. This may be kind of a big question, but what are the different ways that you can monetize your business? Like, for instance, you have the boarding, you have the daycare. Why don't you just kind of go through all of them just to give the people ideas?
Sure. So daycare is extremely appealing to people. Oh, my dog goes to daycare. It's a
He
bragging
plays.
point.
Right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
daycare is not the most profitable piece in your business because it takes too many staff.
Okay.
So as an example, I have 85 dogs playing. I have 4 staffers. If the average staffer makes $15 an hour, that's a lot of money. Now you got to
Yeah.
add in workman's comp, and we are in a high bracket because it is considered somewhat dangerous to work in a daycare.
Right. Okay.
However, boarding, where the dog stays in the suite, less staff because they're in their suite.
Right.
Boarding is your most profitable piece. And then there's training. You could add in dog training. So somebody either drops their dog off for daycare for the day, and then you could do a training add-on like, oh, Fluffy jumps all the time. Can you work on that? Sure. It's
Right.
$30 for a 30-minute training session.
Gotcha. And then you said there's the premium.
Correct.
Sleep.
Yeah. So, and then you can always offer chauffeur service. You can offer enrichment time. We sell cuddle time. So if your pet is staying with us, I'll sit down for 15 minutes and cuddle and snuggle with them and give them good scratches.
Okay.
You can sell a photo package where you take pictures of the dog throughout the day and then you send them off to the pet parents at night. And then there's the food add-ons as well. So a Kong is a rubber toy that you stuff with either peanut butter or pumpkin or yogurt, or you can make some special recipe based on the time of the year. And so those are good add-ons. A homemade dog treat is an add-on. So there's lots of add-on pieces that don't require staff that can really boost your profitability. So a lot of times too, on the holidays, we do parties.
Okay.
So your dog is coming to the Christmas party and you're paying me $12.
Oh, okay. It's not even like it's staying there for the night. This is just like, hey, we're having a special Christmas party for all the dog friends to get together.
Yep. So you're paying me my daycare rate of $24 plus another $12. I've got a backdrop and my friend who's a photographer comes in and I throw her $50 and she takes a cute picture of your dog with our cute little Christmas backdrop that we post on our Facebook page. And then I've made special doggy cookies that are shaped like Christmas trees that they get. And then we'll do a paw print take home gift. So I'll take finger paint on a paper plate. You rub their paw in it and then you squish it onto, we had foam ornaments that I bought at Target. And so they just did a paw print on the foam ornament. I wrote the dog's name and then that was their go home.
Right. Is there washing services?
We do have a washer and dryer to wash bedding. And then we do also offer baths and nail trims. So your grooming is really dependent on your water supply, your drain supply, and time and effort. So I used to rent space to a groomer. And what I found is people are very particular about their animals' haircuts.
Right. Even though
So
the animal doesn't care.
the animal doesn't care, but you cut it too short.
Right.
So if they were mad at the groomer, then they would stop using my services because they didn't want to see the groomer.
Gotcha.
So you have to be kind of careful with the grooming piece. I mean, offering a bath and a nail trim service, you can learn how to do that online. You could go ask a groomer, to mentor you. And those are great add-on services as well. In fact, before this podcast, I just did 4 baths. 2 of them were premium baths, which meant I blow dried the dog and I used a brush, kind of brushed out some extra fur to fluff them up. And they were both large dogs. So that was $50 for 2 of those dogs. So there was $100. And then the other 2 dogs were Furminators, which is just a special shampoo and a special brush. And those were $65. So 2 dogs at $65, 2 dogs at $50. And it took me an hour and a half to do all 4 dogs.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then he also said the front of the store, the front of the intake area, whatever, merch wasn't a big thing, but you still have things like collars and other things that people might have forgot or whatever.
Yeah. In your front of your store, your retail area, a lot of the daycares that I toured before opening up, those that had like food, said that unless you do like a specialty brand, like maybe a raw or a high-end brand, where people will seek you out, most people, they just want to drop their dog off to go have a day of fun and then pick them up.
Right.
They buy their dog food when they buy their groceries.
Yeah. It's just they forgot a leash. They need one.
Right. Yep. And that's the key thing. We do sell some bones. So if somebody, shows up for boarding and they're like, we always say, oh, and did we have any items from home? And they go, oh, I forgot. Oh, well, we have a great selection of bones. If you'd like to grab a couple of those, we can put them on your bill. And then Fluffy will have a bone to chew on tonight.
Right. So we've been talking about dogs, but in the very beginning, you mentioned birds, cats, and stuff. I'm going to guess there's not like a cat playtime because they don't like that. But what is different about that? What special considerations do you have to take for other animals?
Yeah. So my facility used to be a food warehouse. So when you first walk in, you've got a lobby area, but behind that, there were offices. So we tiled the offices and then we put in the same wire kenneling as we do it by the dogs. And then there's a cat tower in each of the kennels. That room, both of those rooms, since they were offices, have lots of windows for light. And our cats, we check in on them at least 3 times a day. Typically, it's 4 to 6 times a day because we just always like to see who's in there. And we scoop the litter and we feed and water them 3 times a day if they require food 3 times a day. But otherwise, there's minimal interaction with them. People can add on a one-on-one playtime. Well, we'll take them out into the room and we'll just play with them with a little flirt pole. We might roll some balls around. They can pay for snuggle time. Again, if your dog's a jerk or if your cat's a jerk and wants to claw my face, we may not be snuggling a whole lot.
Right.
But that's a nice add-on service. And then we also have kitty treats that they can add on as well. Right. And then at night, when it's lights out, I have a remote laser beam contraption. Yeah. So we just set that up to run for 20 minutes at night.
Okay. And you said birds.
Yeah, birds. So the birds hang out in the cat room. So you need to you need to make sure that your cat condos, as we like to call them, are escape proof.
Okay.
So they all have lids on them. Everything is battened down. I do also have, for the birds, we require people to bring their own cage because birds are really particular and really temperamental. They stress out really easily.
Right.
We do play usually National Public Radio, or we'll play some classical music in those rooms. You need to make sure there's not a lot of perfumage. So like no candle burning or things like that. Don't be using essential oils in those rooms if you've got bird or small animals in there because they're super sensitive to that stuff.
Right.
But there's 5 different birds that come and see us on a regular basis for boarding. So they wheel in their little cage, they get everything all set up. Their bird is usually in a separate, like a travel cage. They bring them in, the bird goes in, everything is locked up and secure. And pretty much we just open up the little water tray, we open up the food tray, we feed in water, and then we change the little papers at the bottom of the tray. But yeah, pretty simple. We don't play with them. There's no snuggle time with them.
Right. So what is the
The
pricing structure differential of cats and birds versus the dogs?
Yeah. So since the birds and the cats and the small animals don't require one-on-one, type of handling, it's just our front desk person. So we charge $16 a night to board your cat or your other small animal because there isn't a whole lot that we have to physically do.
Right. Now, non-business, this is just me talking to you. What's the weirdest animal you had to board?
A white rat.
White rat. Okay. I mean, it's kind of similar size to a bird. You're not going to leave it at home for 7 days.
Right. And they wanted snuggle time.
Yeah. Hey, that's cool. Do you do reptiles at all?
Yep. So we've done reptiles. The key thing to think about if you're going to do reptiles is typically they require an outlet because they have a heat lamp or a heat stone, to where we don't have a lot of outlets, right? Like dogs don't need to plug in their cell phones or their iPads.
Right.
So if you're going to do reptiles, that is one thing you need to think about, is like, where do you have outlets to accommodate that type of thing? Or if somebody wants to bring in their cat's electric water bowl that feeds the water all the time, do you have that capability?
Right.
To plug something in and have it still be safe? Like if the cat chews on the cord, is there a way to kind of make sure that that doesn't happen?
Yeah. All right. So you're the expert. I ran out of questions in my head. Is there anything else that you feel would be beneficial for someone looking to start this should know?
Yeah. The one thing that I learned, of course, the hard way is don't price yourself when you're first starting out cheaper than your competitor. You need to be more expensive than your closest competitor.
Really?
Because you're new. You're a premium service.
Gotcha. All right.
And that's where, as a new business starting out, you're like, oh, if I'm cheaper, then I'll get clients.
Yeah.
No.
Thinks that. You
need to be newer, fresher, and more exciting.
Right. The problem when people are starting out is that no matter what it is, they price themselves lower, thinking they need the business. But then if you, like a year into that, if you just sat down and did the math, you could be like, well, I left $50,000 on the table because I was just cheaper by $50. I could have been $50,000 ahead right now and not have lost any business.
Nope. Absolutely. And that is a huge mistake we all make, right? Like any industry, we all do it. Don't give multiple dog discounts or multiple pet discounts.
Okay.
It takes the same amount of time to feed that dog and water that dog and take that dog out to potty as it does the other one.
Right.
It doesn't matter if they're staying in the same suite together or separate.
Yeah,
it's your time. This is a service-based industry. It is your time, your talent, and your effort.
That is my perfect last question. In the beginning, you said there was bad customer service. What does good customer service look like for a doggy daycare boarding someplace?
Know the dog. So we did a market survey, not just of our clients, but in our community, because I wanted to know kind of what set us apart or what were things that people really wanted in their dog daycare. They love if when the dog or cat or animal walks in the door that you know its name.
Okay.
I don't know majority of the humans' names, but I know 98% of the animals that come through the door. And I address the animal. Hey, Fluffy, how you doing today? You want to go play with your friends? All right, let's go. Okay.
And then kind of in an excited kind of way.
Absolutely. And then the human's like, oh, they knew my dog.
Right. They like my dog.
Yeah. When the dog leaves, you address Fluffy again. You don't address the parents. Hey, Fluffy, you have a good night. Go snuggle with mom and dad.
Nice.
That's the key. They want to know that you care about their pet. That's why they're bringing them.
Right.
Their dog's just fine hanging on the couch while they're at work. This is a luxury service that we provide.
Yeah. So I know someone who puts their huskies in doggy daycare, and they talk about it like it's the greatest thing, and how their dog has so much fun, and they tell everyone what the dog did that day. So yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's an
Yep. And
experience.
it's an experience, and that's what you're giving them. When I see people out on the street, again, I have no idea who their name are. I'm like, "Hey, Fluffy's dad, how are you today?"
Right. Yeah.
Right? That's who they are. These are their fur children or their fur grandchildren, and that's really what's important. Um, you asked, like, what's another key thing? Know your numbers. You can't just go, "I've got money in the bank."
Right.
And that's a difficult one for a lot of people to figure out in a service-based industry. If you have a restaurant, you know what your food costs are and how much you're throwing away and all that kind of stuff. In the dog industry, it is strictly a service.
Right.
We don't have a whole lot of costs. Heating and cooling, your staff, insurance. So a lot of people don't really know what the cost is to do business. I can tell you a cost of one little square of paper towel is between a penny and 4 cents. So let's just say 4 cents, right? Let's just say I'm buying the premium paper towel. We have a 2 square rule. You use 2 squares to pick up a pile of poop.
Okay.
I do 100 dogs a day. Every dog poops twice a day. So now we're at 16 cents per dog per day. Times it by 100 dogs, times that by 5 days a week, times that by how many months, So we spend about $16,000 a year just on paper towel.
Oh wow. Yeah, that is a lot. And if you didn't know it, it's just like, oh, that's just part of the expenses. Uh,
And
you
your
would have no
staffers
idea.
and your staffers wrapping the paper towel around their hand 9 loops to pick up one turd.
Right.
You need to know your numbers. Dilution rates on your cleaning supplies. Super important.
Right. Just don't mix it how you want, because then that's wasting money.
Yep. If you're a bartender, you know how to pour that shot, right? To maximize the value of that drink.
Right.
Same concept. So those are the 2 biggest areas that your staff will cost you money.
Okay, because that's your biggest expense is staff, right?
Staff, and then you start going through your products,
Right.
whether it's shampoo, cleaning supplies, paper towel. Absolutely. And those are the numbers that I share with my staff every year because those are the numbers that they have a direct impact on.
Right. That was not my last question. I have one last question. Uh, what do you do with all the poop? And do you know if state by state, area by area, there might be different rules because it could be considered a hazardous material?
Nope. Dog poop is not typically considered hazardous material.
Okay.
Goes in the dumpster.
Okay.
You don't need to biobag it. If you know of a poop pump business, certainly reach out to them and see if they want your dog poop and you can work out a deal because that's less expense that you have in filling a dumpster
Okay.
if you can sell it to somebody.
People buy it.
Yep. So there's a worm farmer.
Okay.
There's a worm farmer. Yep. And he'll buy poop every now and again.
Okay. So what do you have to store it in some sort of like above ground septic tank or something?
Yeah. So for him, we'll store it in a 5-gallon bucket with a lid. And then we just call him, hey, we got a bucket full, and he has to come like the next day. I don't want a bucket of poop sitting around in my facility.
Right.
But yeah, how you clean up the poop and pee within your facility is really kind of up to you. There's not a lot of regulation regarding that, but really try and think of what is time, effectiveness, and cleanliness. Like those are your 3 kind of benchmarks when you're thinking about how you want to have poop cleaned up. We don't use a mop for pee. We use rags and a cleaning solution in a squirt bottle. So first we soak up the pee, then we spray our disinfectant, and then we use preferably the same towel if you have a dry spot or a fresh towel, and then we dry it up because then I know the chemicals are not staying on the floor and it's not wet and slippery.
Right. Dumpster area, is it a little further away from the building because it's just filled with Feces? Yeah.
No, it's right next to my building. It's actually the thing to think about is proximity to taking the poop out
Okay.
because it gets heavy. So in
Yeah.
our outside play yards, we have a 5-gallon bucket that's got a trash bag in it. And that's where we scoop the poop when they poop outside in our astroturfed play area. And then when that gets half to 3/4 full, you need to dump it. And it's a ollie oop to get that thing into the dumpster
Right.
because it's heavy.
Oh
I mean,
man.
you deal with cat litter. So, I mean, it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
heavy.
Yeah, cat litter gets
So that's what you need to think of. And because you don't necessarily like, you might hire somebody who's like 5 feet and 100 pounds soaking wet. Like, can they lift that into the dumpster?
right.
So you need to think of proximity to where you're collecting the poop to the dumpster. So ours is right next to the play yard. It is actually in the front of our building, right next to my HVAC unit. And there's only a couple times a year that we have any issues because all the poop is in a bag in the dumpster.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And it's usually when we've had those really hot, humid days that it gets
Right.
a little stinky. But other than that, it's pretty manageable. So you want to look at ordering a dumpster that suits the size of your facility starting out. So I would do a small dumpster and maybe do a once a week pickup. And then as you grow and expand, you could do a bigger dumpster or just have it picked up more frequently.
Right. All right. There's a lot of things. No, 50-minute podcast or YouTube video can get into everything. So you do have a academy and a book. So drop those right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. So during COVID, and I wasn't hiring anybody, but I knew I would be once things kind of got back to normal. So I created Dog Handler Academy. That is a online employee training program for our industry.
Okay,
So
cool.
if you wanted to come and learn how to be a dog handler, I, as the business, would enroll you into Dog Handler Academy. You would watch videos on how to take on and off leashes and collars. You would watch videos on how to identify the 8 different types of poop that we
Okay.
are concerned about. And you would learn about dog body language. You would learn how to break up fights and scuffles, how to prevent them, how to handle difficult dogs. We even have a module on good customer service because that's super important. And then within Dog Handler Academy, we have breakout elements to it. So we have a book on what do you need to know or consider when you want to open up a dog daycare facility. It's a great resource. It just kind of walks you through all the questions that you need to ask yourself and your municipality when you're considering opening up the dog daycare.
Okay, great. So the book is definitely for like the people we're talking to right now.
Absolutely.
So is the course, but the course is also like you could just have your employees take it and be ready to kind of handle their job.
Absolutely. We talked a lot about time, effort, and energy of you, the business owner.
Right.
You don't have time to stand with this new hire for 30 days, 60 days, however long it takes for them to catch on. So that's the purpose of Dog Handler Academy. They can watch it on their phone, at home, and then you just give them a little bonus when they complete the module, or you can have them watch it at work if they don't have Wi-Fi or something like that. But it is really meant to help people who want to play with dogs all day be good handlers.
Right. Awesome. Well, everyone go check that out. The links are in the descriptions. Like I said, we can't get into all of it on this. This is just an introduction. You want to have a dog daycare, dog boarding, animal boarding, go check it out. Thank you, Eve, for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a great conversation, and I wish I would have known some of this information before I started my daycare.
Yeah, it's very helpful. I am hoping all these videos are helping people out. Again, thanks and have a good one.
You too.